My name's Cory Procter. I played 6 years in the NFL, mostly with the Dallas Cowboys and the Miami Dolphins. And originally from Washington State, Seattle area, went to school at the University of Montana. I guess kind of to round me out is obviously my football past as an NFL player, but I met my wife during that time, so I'm a husband. We have a beautiful daughter, Grace, and so I'm a father. And I have my brothers. I'm middle of three boys originally, and my folks both remarried, so I have a lot of step siblings, and I love them a whole lot. So, and I have a lot of great friendships. So, a lot of those things, a lot of good combinations. But, as of the last couple years of my life, 2 to 3 years of my life, way more a man of faith than I've ever been in my life, and that's been he's used some trials, some hardships that we've walked through to really manifest himself in a big way, a massive way. I'm kind of a brunt guy. I'm a hold no bones about it, and I'm pretty blunt when I talk to you. So for God to show up in my life as hard as he did when he did, it was kind of a moment when I had to admit that he was real, and the what he was trying to present to me was of value. So I guess overall, big man of faith, and I hope was just kind of what guides my direction in any of my relationships and choices right now. The first thought that comes to my mind is we constantly belittle our own power in a situation. And that's everybody. That's coaches, it's players, it's anybody in life right now. But we kind of have a tendency, and we call it modesty, we call it humility sometimes, but we have a tendency to downplay our ability to impact a situation. And that's what I've seen more and more as I recount my life. I kind of look back at my resume of life, right? And I'm seeing right now more as I speak is the impact and the power that we have available to us that really we've been created to have, we've been granted to have, we've been with that grace. And that's what, if I were to impart anything on coaches, where they're at right now is to challenge your ability to impact and what kind of leader do you want to be in your position and where you're at right now. And that might be in your marriage, that might be in any sort of relationship, that might be in the position you have currently. And that's leading when you're in charge, when you're not in charge. But what kind of leader do you want to be in that situation? I mean, do you want to have an impact or an influence on the people directly around you to better them? I mean, are the words that you're speaking life-giving, or are they bringing it down? Are they complaints, or are they opinions that just don't contribute any positive action in the situation? And that's where I would start first is, what are your current actions that are pressing into that? What kind of leader do you want to be? And as I dive deeper into the word, into my faith, I have an alignment that starts happening with God where he changes my own perspective and my own thought processes that think others first. And how do I empower them? Man, discovering yourself is a hard thing. That is a forever deal. I feel like, we're on a constant journey of growth. So if you're on a constant journey of growth, you're a constant journey of finding out who you are and what you can be. Now if you can absolutely, God can tell you can be directed, you can find out who you are at an early stage in life. But if you're not trying to better that position, we're going down. And there's never a standstill. There's always a going down or going up. There's never any in between. But I would say early from sports and from football and from those kind of atmospheres, those put such powerful values and character into me, because they put you in places of adversity and where you had to fight through situations. I think there's several moments in our life. For me specifically, there's a handful, but there's only one major life moment where adversity hit hard. And I'm middle of 3 boys. We all have children, but my younger brother, his only son at the time, ended up, we found out he had cancer. He had brain cancer right after his first birthday. And that was a deal that hit us hard, our entire family. Our brothers and I are like best friends. And it was a period of about 7 or 8 months, a really up and down time. It just kind of caused some cracks to turn into craters in our family, some problems that we had to turn into massive explosions, and it was not easy. It was not good, but it was about 17 months old. My brother's son, his name was Evan, Big E, call him big old fat cheeks. He was a stud, man. But I was about 17, 18 months old when I had to watch him lose their only son. And that was hard. That was the biggest piece of adversity I've ever seen. I've ever had to watch somebody go through. One of my best friends is having to walk through losing a child, and I went into fight mode for him and his wife, and wasn't maybe always the best way to handle things. I probably didn't handle things always the best, but all I knew was to protect them in some way in that precious time that they had. And confusing, anger. At the same time, we had our baby girl, and the first time they met was at St. Jude in Memphis, and we got a good picture of them hanging out, laying on the bed together. My baby girl's slapping Biggie in the face, and he's wondering what the heck is this chick doing here. But it was just a massive confusing time in our life. We didn't know how to take it, and walking through that, I remember watching my brother and his wife and the endurance and the massive stability that they had walking through that, and knowing that they were going to be convicted in the love that they had for their son gave me a crazy amount of strength. And I was still ticked off. I was still all these things. But the biggest thing to happen with that, and nobody can really figure out how to walk through any of that. They just walk. They just go. They just endure through that. And nobody knows how to take it. Nobody wants to say in that. But what had happened with me was I was ticked off. And we eventually get an invite to church. I remember we go in, and it was actually Saturday night. We had some friends over, and this was funny because I always call this the power of the wife, the power of the woman, right? But we have some friends over on a Saturday night, and my buddy's wife invites my wife to church. Says on the side, tells us that, hey, we're gonna go to 11 a.m. service. You guys should try to make it if you can. So they leave the house. And my wife, Megan, as soon as she closes the door, she says to me, she says, hey, I'm going to go to 11 a.m. service. You can come if you want. And then she drops the mic and walks away. And leaves a bomb on me. So I'm the man of the house. I'm the guy that runs the show. And I'm sitting here. My pride is all of a sudden challenged. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, this is my house. I'm the leader. I'm running this show. All right, that's fine. We're going to go. I'll lead us in there. And so the next day we show up to church. And I got my baby girl Grace in my arms. I got my wife by my side. And I got a full armor up. I come in. I'm like, I didn't care who it was. I was ready to fight. And walking to church, I see the nursery over there. I'm like, this is my baby girl. You can't touch her. And we walk in. I don't want to talk to anybody. And we didn't hear a message. I didn't hear a sermon or anything, but walk in, and it was about the second worship song that he puts a vision in my head. It's a picture. It's just, all I see is Big E sitting on his lap. And I remember I had this amazing, overwhelming feeling of, I got him. He's good. And that was the major moment in my life that helped overcome that adversity. That started a wall tearing down process that led me to come to church, that led me to come to faith, that started a rebuilding in me to become a man in this life for my family and for God to overcome that point, that massive amount of pain that I want to bring to other people. He's shown that light on me, shown that grace on me, and I want to impact other people like that. I want to bring the kingdom out there. I want to bring reconciliation out there. I want to bring a massive amount of power that he's got available to everybody to unleash the calling that they're supposed to have. That was a turning point in my life. Man, success can be watered down so much these days. One of the best things I heard recently was don't focus on your success, focus on the value you bring to the table. Because when you bring value to the table, success happens. Success is a byproduct of what you bring, right? So a lot of sales companies think, how do we bring more sales? How do we bring more revenue in the door? Revenue is a byproduct of what you're building. It's a value that you bring to the table. So if you stand for something, what I would say is identify your value, identify your purpose, you identify your vision and what you want to do, and you plaster that on the wall and put it in a place where you never forget where that is. 100%. Because you lose sight of the vision, that's when you start drifting to what kind of money am I making? How successful? How successful? How do I look compared to all these other people? And we start playing that other game that we can't win. Right? So the focus is on our value. Let's focus on what we want and our vision, what we project out there. So if we can keep hold of that at all times, and then feed our actions according to what our vision is, that's when success will happen. That's what we want. And that's what's going to pull us. That vision, that was going to be our drive and what we see and what reminds us constantly and what we're after. And that's a question I would ask so many young people right now. We're getting caught up in how many followers we have on social media, or how many likes we got on certain pages, on certain posts, on all these different things. And that's great. But when you start providing something legit to the world, they will respond in a legit way. They will respond in the masses. They'll respond in amazing, impactful ways when you start impacting the world on your own and bringing that value, your gifts that you've been given, bring that to the world and have that what's passionate in you. Because passion is real. Passion it doesn't have to be loud, but you can always recognize it when you see it. And it always has a presence in the room when somebody walks in with it. So that's what I would do, is identify the vision and then evaluate the actions that you are taking today and ask yourself, is that feeding my vision or is that taking it away? You know, I don't know if I ever thought football was my path, but I knew the high that I got off it. And the relationships it brought to the table. I was always a guy that loved off-season workouts, man. I loved going to eat with my brothers. I loved going and working out and lifting weights and running and doing all those different things and grinding like crazy. I don't know why I fed off like that. Was that wild grueling work, I loved. For whatever reason, it was miserable, and because I can honestly tell you it was miserable, but I loved it at the same time, because you're with your brothers, you're in camaraderie with them, you're in a family, and you're doing it together. And you know, you can say what you want about it, but there's power in that huddle. There's power in that group right then. Because what happens is there's a transformation that starts happening in those moments. There's you know, because you have people that are strangers initially, you have people that don't know each other initially, that all of a sudden have to overcome this pain and this obstacle or this tough time together and get better and grow. And you see each other in those moments in a light that the world doesn't see you. And the thing is when you see yourself and when you see other people in a way that the world can't see them, you can start doing things that the world can't do. And it becomes a powerful time, man. And so I was addicted to that. I was addicted to that camaraderie. Because all of a sudden, when you start putting pieces together and you're working together and dominating the other side of that ball, you feel powerful running through those veins, man, and you feel like an unstoppable force all of a sudden. And you think all of a sudden you lay hands on a situation and you get that momentum turning. That's strong. Everybody loves the attention, right? I think, of course, people want to make money. They want to do well. They want to be successful, and that's all great. But again, those are byproducts. Those are symptoms. And when you focus on a symptom, you never get to the actual issue, right? And yeah, sometimes you like the attention for sure that some of the stuff comes with it. But when that becomes your focus, you start veering away from what you originally loved about the game. And so when you can keep your focus on your brothers, keep your focus on the team, and keep your focus on what drives you and what feeds that life, that's when you're good. That's when everything just falls into place. And all of a sudden, that's when life, I think, takes place, because that's where you gain the most value. Because that's why it hurts so much when we lose somebody. That's why it hurts so much to see another brother go through pain, because of the connection you guys already have, because of the love you guys already developed, and the respect that you guys gotten. I mean, that's not something to be taken for granted. Bigger Than Ball is, I think it's representative of what is the game more than the game. What does it bring to the table? And with football, when you say bigger than ball, that means we're building something bigger than the actual game we're playing. That means we're pouring into each other in a way that's making us a whole lot bigger than we actually think we're making. That means I wouldn't be the husband I am today had I hadn't played football. I wouldn't be the man I am. I wouldn't be the father I am because of the character I built there. Because I know my daughter's looking at me, looking at the same character in the same way that I conduct myself. And it's eventually going to do the same thing that I'm doing. That means she's going to start looking for that kind of man that I am. I mean, that means the same kind of values that I get from the game. That means the intention that I brought to football in practice and in the weight room and in preparation for one day out of the week. For 16 days a year, I have to bring that same intensity, that same intentionality, that same kind of purpose to my life outside of that. So it's no wonder that you become the number one sales guy at work. It's no wonder that You're an incredible warrior, an incredible lover for your wife. And it's no wonder that you're an incredible fighter and protector for your family. It's because that game teaches you to be that. An amazing person, way better than you were ever capable of being before.